Last week, I did a webinar related to the communications in general. And of course, online communication is part of it. So I thought that based on a current scenario, current environment, current situation, a lot of people are looking for jobs and looks like that there would be more and more online interviews. So the reason is that, first of all, based on the current COVID situations, I think many people have got into the comfort zone. Now they believe that the online communication works. Now, online technology was available for many years, but there was a hesitation from the corporate people not to really adopt it fully. COVID-19 situation has forced people to adopt it, and I think everybody has availed some experience of it, and looks like, generally speaking, it's very much effective and very much workable. So what is going to happen going forward in the job market from a job search perspective? I think that there would be more and more online job interviews. So which means that earlier the traditional interview was related to the sending an interview call. Then they will set up a time with the candidate, and candidate will commute or travel, or many times they travel from one city to another city. So it involves the air travel as well. So it requires a lot of logistics, as well as quite expensive for employer as well as for candidate. So now that most people, most professionals have realized, hiring managers have realized that online communication or online interviews are not bad, they're going to resort more and more on the online interviews. And again, the reason is that, first of all, it does not require that level of planning and arrangement and logistics. For employers, it's very cheap, just getting onto the computer and talking to someone. And also for candidate, it's quite easy and comfortable to talk from the comfort of their home to the hiring manager. So with this thing, that especially the cost factor, I think employers or hiring managers would be resorting more and more on the online interviews. Now, typically a traditional interview is last for about an hour, because they made arrangement and now they are available for it. The candidate have commuted or traveled. So that they want to really ensure that at least they spend 1 hour, because there is already an investment. I think with online job interviews, that time duration would reduce significantly. And many times it happens with the telephone interview that normally people take 10-15 minutes at most. With online interviews, I guess that it would be somewhere like 15-20 minutes, maximum 30 minutes. If it is 20 to 30 minutes for employer to be available for interview, which means they have more time. And usually it is very suitable for the initial screening. So with this limited time and with this ease of technology available, what they will do, they will try to interview more candidates, more than before. So if they would start with 10 candidates traditionally, now with the online, they could easily cover 20-25 candidates, which means they have a larger pool to really go from, which will ensure a better quality. This is a good news for candidate, because if you are actively searching in the market, then there is also probability that you will receive more calls for online interviews. So my purpose objective in this webinar is really to help you prepare, because many people are not familiar with the online technology, and they make very innocent mistakes which very with serious consequences, bad consequences for them. So I thought maybe in 1 hour or so I could help you understand and save you some blunders you might make. The reason also is that I have been using online technology for MECA CFO Academy almost for the last 5 years. So we have been a pioneer in providing training and coaching through online technology for some time. So we have gained some experience, and many of our students, or all of our students, really also experience that. So with that preamble, I would go through many ideas, not only related to online interviews, but I ask you to fill a quick survey, and thank you, many of you have replied. Based on your top issues, I also realized that it's not about the how to appear or conduct the interview, but many people are struggling how to get an interview. That's also a big struggle, and I fully agree with that. So I have, based on the feedback, I have also tried to include some of the slides related to how to get an interview, and related to the general job search in general. So I hope that those slides would also be helpful and valuable to you. So who this webinar is for, it's obvious, but just to clarify and emphasize that, of course, for the people who are in the job market. So generally speaking, usually the people with the finance background come into my webinars. This webinar is generic, not only useful for finance professionals, but if you belong to any other function, you would equally benefit from this. So it's basically senior corporate professionals. Senior is important because there may be there are several roles in the lower category, junior category, which may have different dynamics from the job market point of view. My focus is always for the corporate professionals, managers and above, who are the senior category. So everything you will see here would be applicable to professionals in the senior manager and above category in any function. So that's one thing. So of course, the people who are jobless and actively searching, definitely that's a target group, but also the people who are on the job still, but they are facing some risks that they might lose job in days to come. And that is true for many, many people. And the third category could be the people that who are on a full-time job and they feel that everything is secure and there is no risk to their jobs. So just a caution, make no mistake, all jobs are temporary. So you may survive these crises, but experts are saying that on the average, an average professional would have 10 to 12 to 15 changes over their career lifetime, and maybe more as we pass through the times. So quite a big pool of people who will benefit. And I think in today's time, everybody must learn job search process, how to find a job, because you may be lucky not to really have those situations yet, but keep assured that going forward, this is going to be a common scenario and there is nothing wrong in it. It's not about your performance. There are many, many factors outside your control and your performance, which may cause you to lose your job without any willingness from your side. So this is a new reality. We need to prepare and everybody should learn how to find a job. Okay, let's talk about current situations a little bit, where we are and what seems to be happening. So number one, from a job search point of view, from a hiring point of view, generally speaking, hiring is on hold. Even the companies who are ready to hire based on the COVID-19 situation, uncertainty in the market, they put everything on hold and only for the essential position they are hiring. So that's number one thing. Number two, most employers, as we know, are cutting down their capacity. Airlines, hotels, some industries are very, very severely impacted. And of course, they are reducing their capacity. Fortunately, the people we are talking about in this webinar, the senior corporate professionals, managers and above, they are mainly not in that category. In that category are the people who are operational. For example, airlines, hotels, the operational people are, of course, they are very seriously impacted. But we are in the support role or we are the knowledge workers. So people in this category are not directly affected, but still there is a lot of risks involved. So that's another thing about the capacity reduction and layoffs. So as I just mentioned, for knowledge workers, so I believe that all of us sitting in this webinar could be categorized as knowledge workers. And there is another very specific thing which is happening with the knowledge worker, that the requirement in their skill set is drastically changing. So based on the technology, based on the competitiveness in the market, based on the demanding requirement from the management, the requirement for the knowledge workers, people like you and me, are being required more and more from an skill set point. Different skill set is required, and I'll explain shortly what that changes. So keep in mind, it's not only the current crisis, it's only the going forward trend for some time that the skill set is being changed or required in a different way from an employer or hiring manager point of view. Now, this is very important to understand, and this is a sort of inside secret. 30% or 1/3 of the jobs are hidden. So all the jobs available in the market looks like there are not many jobs. Although if you go to LinkedIn, just a benchmark, if you go to LinkedIn, you still find a lot of jobs. I just checked that there are close to 5,500 CFO roles available right now, 5,500 globally. Of course, there is a big difference in the region. For example, the markets like Middle East are very, very dry. Pakistan, China, India, they are very tough areas. There are more jobs on the North American and the Western markets. But overall, it doesn't look that bad. But think of this. So those are the visible jobs. On top of it, there are at least 1/3, I would say 30 to 40% of jobs, which are never announced, never publicized. And that's a big chunk as well. and that's mainly fall into this category of knowledge worker. Now, another very important trend to understand in today's time is that many employers, based on the demands of advanced skills, they are secretly, without making much buzz about it, they are secretly replacing many roles. So there are people who are in those categories like director and senior managers and controllers and even CFOs who are working for a long time, 10, 15, 20 years, and they did not really realize that their skill set is getting obsolete, but employers are feeling that heat, and employers from their side, they want to replace them with better talent. So many of the roles or jobs in this one third category are related to the replacement jobs. As of course you could understand that if this is a replacement, it has to be kept highly confidential. But there are many jobs like that. So keep in mind that there is enough jobs in the market for you to really look for and search for to find one. And still hiring is going on. It's not that there is no activity at all, but employers are really doing it quietly. They're not making much buzz about it, not making many announcements. There is not much activity. They're quietly doing it, but activity is going on. So that's an overall, I would say, the current market scenario, which you need to know. You might know something, you might not know something. So I'm just giving you an update that from an intelligence point of view, this looks like the current scenario in today's environment. Okay, let's step back and let's try to understand what the hiring process is, because many people make mistakes. So market is tough, no doubt in it, but I think more than half of the candidates, because they do not have such experience or do not have any formal training in it, they make stupid blunders. So let's take a little time to understand what that process is. The hiring process is two phases, very simply: getting interviews and getting the jobs. And you should not really mix up the two. When you are in the interview phase, target only to get interviews. When you are in the getting phase, target on getting the job. Don't try to search for a job from the very beginning or try to target a job. Try target interviews, because that is an essential step you need to pass. What is inside the getting interviews phase? It's basically all about networking. It's not about just posting your resume on the job boards or searching for jobs on the job board. It's not like that, really. I want to make this point very clear that if you are sending every day your resume to 50, 100 places, you are wasting your time, because not much would come out. What you need to do, networking. Now, the good news is that there is not much activity. Most candidates would not go networking route. It's easier, right? It's in comfort zone of many people. Just sit on their computer and just click, paste and click, paste and click, paste. So you need to accept that they get interview, you need to get involved in networking. What is networking? In networking, you basically target companies, and I'll explain that in the subsequent slide. This is more clearly. You need to target companies, and those companies which are more probable to hire you. Normally, those companies are your industry, where you have the most experience, right? So that's easy. You just need to do some research and don't look for the openings in those companies, because as I said, they more than one third of the jobs are hidden. So you don't know what is inside. Only look at the relevance. What company is most probable to hire you? Usually you're in your industry or maybe your competitor, right? And once you identify the companies, try to find out the people you know in those companies. Now, you will be lucky if you find people in the senior category, but most probably you would not find anyone you know, right? Or you would find someone at the junior level or mid level, and you will disregard, said, okay, they cannot help you. Don't make that mistake. You need one employee in that company, no matter what position or seniority they are sitting there. You need one employee in that company to become your door opener, because that employee may not have the authority to hire you, but he has the authority and the power to open the door for you. Don't underestimate the power of an employee of a company. Employee is the most trusted person. The company has hired that one person to work inside the company. That person know all the secrets inside, all the confidential things, and has some authority. So they always have the power to refer you inside the company. So you need to find a door opener. Don't get pressure that you have to find a CFO or HR director or the CEO. You don't need that. To start with your networking, find out the companies and try to find a door opener in whatever capacity. Usually you will find someone. If not, then try to, this is networking. If you don't know, then try to find someone who knows that person. It may require 2 level of networking or 3 level of networking. That is where the LinkedIn is very useful. If you are a good networker, you would already have a lot of first level connections, right? So you would find someone in the first level connection. If not, then you could reach easily to second level connections or third level connections, right? And with little networking tricks, you would be able to reach to the employee of that company. Once you reach an employee of that company, of course, you would do some networking, and I will explain how to do the networking and the communication. But that person would be able to refer you to the HR. First of all, that person would tell you if there is any internal positions or not. The hidden position, as we call them, they are hidden outside, but they are not hidden internally. Most of the time, active employees knows about those positions, that those are available. If that is the case, and based on your intelligence and conversation, you realize that yes, there are some open positions. Maybe they are hiring actively, or they may not be hiring actively. If they are not hiring actively, which means they have not really posted the jobs, they are looking for individual leads, the people who come through the referral, the 1/3 of the jobs which are hidden and employers or the hiring managers are not making any publicity. How do they find the people? So they are a little bit fearful that if they make a posting, hundreds and maybe thousands of applications would be there and they would not be able to handle it. They want to avoid that, but they do not want to completely avoid that situation. They want individual leads. So if someone comes quietly through an internal referral that this person is interested in this role or this person could be a good candidate, they look very seriously. And you know what? Another very important factor, don't ever underestimate the employee referral. Employee referral is very, very valuable because look, this is a trusted person for the company. If an employee who has already been working for a company for some time, they make a reference, HR take it very seriously, hiring managers take it very seriously. So once they understand and you develop a sort of networking and relationship, that they would be the connector. They would take your resume and CV and forward it to HR and maybe talk to HR. And if they talk to someone senior enough, as a courtesy, as an obligation, usually those senior people always at least do a courtesy interview. If the request or referral comes from an employee and the candidate look like a person who is eligible, qualified for the job, usually they would fulfill their obligation by interviewing that candidate. That is how you get the interview. That is how you get the interview. You don't get the interview by sending hundreds of resumes every day. Now, I know it's tough. It's not in the comfort zone of anyone. But look, people are getting hired. So don't underestimate, folks, about the networking. This is the fastest way. This is the most effective way to get the interview. I'm not saying getting the job, but you can get the interview. So that's the first phase. That's why I said that keep the two things very much separate and distinct. Let's talk about getting a job. So you are in the interview process. And so that is what I wanted to talk today, that if you have the interview, how would you handle that? But looks like that there are people in this webinar who needs help on both sides. So I'll cover both sides. So getting a job through an interview is all about communicating, your communication, right? And how many people could say that communication is their top skill? Not many, right? That is where people struggle. Many people who got the interview, they are not able to really demonstrate a performance or a level of skill set where they could be hired. So what do you do in communication? First of all, communication, through communication, I would say, you communicate your value proposition. And what is value proposition? Value proposition is the answer to a very simple question: why you should be hired for that role. When you're sitting in an interview, and if the hiring manager asks you why we should hire you, answer is your value proposition. And you know the answer better than anyone else, why you should be hired, right? So that must be communicated during your interview communication. Second thing is, what is your personal brand, or do you have a personal brand? And this is a separate subject. I'm not going to cover about the personal brand, but you need to think, what is your personal brand and how much people know about you with reference to that personal brand. And related to the personal brand is who you are and what you can do for the employer. So your first of all, your communication skills is only a vehicle to deliver your message, right? If you have very compelling idea about your personal brand and your identity and what you could do, but your communication skills are not good, you won't be able to communicate that well. So two different things: the contents of your communication and your communication skills, both are required in the interview. That's what we want to talk about today in a little bit more detail. So this is a very important slide to understand the overall hiring process. Okay, your job search. So first of all, if you are in transition, it's perfectly okay. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years, it was not okay. People were being looked as a stigma for their performance. Maybe something is wrong with their performance. Today is perfectly okay. So don't take any negative feelings about it that you are out of job. And no employer, no interviewer, no hiring manager really make objection to that. Give yourself 6 to 12 months. If you are newly found yourself in a situation that you're lost your job, don't panic. It will take time. Actually, take this time to redefine yourself. So easily give yourself 6 to 12 months. And beyond 12 months, it started to become a little problem. But 6 to 12 months is perfectly okay. So take that time, unless you have financial pressure. But I think the category we are talking about, at least they have some level of assurance through their savings to survive 6 to 12 months at least. And you should really learn it as a skill. Develop job searching skills as a skill set, not as an opportunity or as an event that, look, I'm jobless, let me find a job and then everything would be okay. No, everything would not be okay. In fact, in my career, in the later part of my career, if I get a job I was looking for, the first day on the job, I would make another objective for my next role. On the first day of a job, I will make and identify my objective for the next role. That is how it worked. So this is an opportunity for you not only to find a job, but learn these skills, because believe me, you will be repeating that skill or process again and again in the remainder of your career and life. And never declare yourself, even don't tell yourself that you're jobless. With the knowledge worker, we have a lot of opportunity to keep ourselves productively busy. So when you introduce you to other people, always say that you are doing some consulting or you are doing some trainings or providing coaching or doing freelancing. And actually do it. You don't mean to really tell a lie. Actually do it. Even with a limited involvement in this activity, at least you could say that I'm doing some consulting. You need to give an impression. You are busy. You're not ideal. You're not useless. You're not sitting ideal. You're not a job seeker. You are a busy person, whatever you're doing, right? In sales profession, usually they ask a question, that a personality type, that are you a farmer or a hunter? And I think you understand the analogy. Farmer is someone really little slow, little patient. Hunter is really the people who make work aggressively and deliver quick results, right? So they ask this question, are you a farmer or a hunter? I would ask you to ask this question yourself. By nature, who are you? Are you a farmer or are you a hunter by nature? So farming is of course slow, takes time, and requires more labor. You sow the seeds in spring and you harvest the crop somewhere like in the late fall, right? It's a long process and you need to be very patient. Hunter are very aggressive. Hunting is fast paced. It has to be fast paced, right? But it's quite risky and out of comfort zone of many people. Many people would say that I'm not, or at least they would not get indulged into it. They can say that they are hunter, but they would not be able to do it. So that's the difference between farming and hunting, farmer and hunter. But neither approach guarantees results. In both cases, without any understandable reason, you may do all the efforts and you may fail. The only difference is in hunting, you can do it again and again quickly in the same period of time. Harvesting or farming, it takes almost a full year to do all the work and then see the results. If there is no result, you wasted a year. In hunting, you could do very quickly. You can do several hunts within a day and you learn very quickly and you change your approach. That is how the wildlife survives. They learn very quickly. Nobody is born a hunter, but they learn very quickly. So how do we relate it to the job search? In farming, this is a very broad, summarized process of job search. So you apply for a job, you start there, applying jobs, sending resumes, looking at the job boards, asking everyone if there is a job, tell me. I'm looking for a job, help me, right? That is where they start. If you're lucky, you would move from that phase to initial screening and maybe to interviewing. That's a sheer matter of luck. That's not a matter of your qualification or your competence or your talent. It's just winning a lottery that you got an interview call through this process, right? Now, interview to offer, that's your talent criteria. There, the employer usually would really evaluate you thoroughly to understand whether you're talented or not. But moving from applying a job to screening and interviewing is a matter of luck. That's farming. Takes a lot of time. And I'm sure that many of you are in this process. It could be already 6 months or a year or maybe more than a year. You're applying and you're not getting any results. That's farming. What happens in hunting? In hunting, you don't apply jobs. Now you can apply, don't take me wrong that I'm not saying that you're completely cut off. You can do some farming on the side, but mainly you are a hunter. You are depending for your survival on hunting. And how do you start hunting? You start networking. Every day you're networking. You're trying to find the people who are relevant, right? And you are trying to connect to them. Not only networking, but trying to connect from one person to another person to another person to another person, unless you reach someone relevant and useful to you. And once you reach to the relevant person, they will help you to get interviews. And then in the interview, then you are in the same position. But your chances of reaching interviews is much higher through hunting than farming. And notice another very important distinction between the two. When you are doing farming, you are basically dependent on luck. Because what you could do, the only you could do is just sending resume, hundreds of resume. That's it. Then everything is out of your control. You surrender everything to your luck. What do you do in hunting? You are actively driving networking. It doesn't stop there. You are also controlling and driving connecting part. Every day you have new strategies. Every day have you new tactics. Every day you are learning something. Every day you are making progress until you reach to interview, right? So hunting is much more rewarding and probable to get you an interview than farming. Now, if you have been a farmer and you want to become a hunter, of course it will take some time. First of all, you need to get out of your comfort zone significantly with a lot of motivation. And I'll explain you how do you do that. But doesn't mean that you are only in one bucket like hunting or farming. You could still do some farming on the side, doesn't take much time and effort. Keep doing farming, but actively get involved in hunting, and that would give you faster results. So skills required for job search, for hunting mainly. Number one, communication skills, very important. Don't undermine that. This is such a fundamental basic skill. We take it granted that everybody could communicate. But look, when you are in a high stake conversation, it becomes very critical. Interview is a high stake conversation. And there you need to really have some basic fundamental skills available to communicate your idea. Number two, networking skills. Very important. This is what we are talking for. Hunting, you need communication and networking. Networking without communication doesn't work. If you don't know how to communicate, what will you do in networking? And so is the vice versa, that if you know communication but don't know how to do networking, how to use your networking skills? So these two are fundamentals. Next is emotional intelligence. I think everybody has some idea of emotional intelligence that helps you in your communication, that helps you in your networking, that helps you in your relationship. So I'm not going to spend time, maybe another time we'll cover emotional intelligence. But if you don't have much skills or knowledge in it, please develop yourself in emotional skills. It's also fundamental. It would help you in your communication and networking significantly. And finally, very important, very critical, very crucial, not many people pay attention to it, managing your frustrations during job search. Fundamental. This is actually a make or break type of situations. Because if you spend 3-4 months on a job search, don't get any results, you get frustrated, you lose, not only you lose your energy, you lose motivation to do anything further. You stop your activity, you stop your job search. How could it be more dangerous than that? So learn how to manage your frustration. This is very important. Now, it's easier said than done. I understand that part, but keep a focus that you are not going to be frustrated. You are in a very complicated process. It will take it time. The only thing to keep yourself going is to ensure that you are doing your best, and it will take time. At one point of time, I was out of job for 1.5 years. That was the global financial crisis, 2009, 2010, more than a year. But ultimately, it got resolved much better than I ever expected. So there would be a better solution if you keep focus and keep with consistently keep doing what you're doing. Few tricks to manage your frustration is actively participate within a peer group. So if you are working all alone, that would be very risky because you will get frustrated. Like-minded people to understand your situation, keep talking to them, keep meeting them, join a peer group. There are a lot of peer groups, and be part of it actively. That will definitely help you. When it comes to the skill set, so I said earlier that there is a wave going on where there is a changing requirement for knowledge workers. So whether you are already working on a secured position for 20 years, or you are changing jobs, or you are a start of the career, there is a changing requirement, and that requirement requires you to develop new skill set. So this slide on your screen is basically a clip from the Future of Job reports from World Economic Forum that was back in 2018, where they try to explain that what skills are growing in the marketplace and what skills are declining. And you could see the growing skills are basically very highly human, very sophisticated, very qualitative, and advanced level of thinking, and specific peculiar human skills related. That is the trend. And the trick is, or the risk is, that you look at the list of these 10 growing skills and you say, I know all of them, because you have done some level of it, right? Analytical thinking, active learning, critical thinking. I can do that. Well, that's a trap, because we are not talking of the low level skills. These are the mastery level skills. So you need some formal training and formal coaching and grooming for these skills. Based on these skills, I already conducted a few webinar and sessions. So this slide, look carefully, because this will help you understand what skills you need to focus upon. So we talked about artificial intelligence or robots to really take over human talent. This has been a debate for a while. Well, I think it's becoming more and more clear that both are really needed. Both artificial intelligence and human intelligence are needed in a fine balance, and that together it could do wonders. So think of the artificial intelligence. Look at the basic skills, basic capability of computers. There are only three areas: speed, accuracy, and memory. This is the fundamental basic skills of computer, robots, technologies: speed, accuracy, and memory. And we as human beings, we cannot beat computers on these three skills. We cannot beat them on speed, we cannot beat them on accuracy, we cannot beat them on memory. So if your current job involves a lot of work related to speed, accuracy, and memory, I think your the role is going to go away soon, and you need to worry about your future role. But look on the right side, human intelligence. What we can do which computers cannot do yet. Look at the long list: common sense, intuition, reasoning, judgment, creativity, critical thinking, beliefs, passion, emotions. Now again, these are common terms, but we are talking about application of these talent into some productive activity. So if computer can take care of speed, accuracy, and memory, we could take care of high-level jobs and high-level tasks. And together they would create wonders. So based on my analysis and study, I tried to create a skill pyramid, what you see here on your screen. This skill pyramid is basically the top 10 skills. Most of them I took from the Future of Job reports, but I try to look at the type of the community follow me and try to make it more relevant for them. So I just try to refine them. So these are the 10 skills you see. I try to segregate them into foundational skills, enhancing skills, and external. The foundational are very, very foundational. This is the base of your any skills. Enhancing is if you develop some skills, it would enhance your foundational skills. The cultural awareness, cognitive flexibility, adaptability, it will further enhance your ability of the foundational skills. And external skills are the skills we used when we deal with people, when we interact with people. So we are supposed to work with people, And to deal with people, these skills like storytelling, negotiation, collaboration, service orientation are very, very helpful. What you see on the right side of this slide picture, like called survival skills, these are personal branding, relationship, and communication. Now they're part of the pyramid because they are primary. They are basic skills everybody has to some extent. Everybody has a personal brand. Everybody has some relationship. Everybody has some level of communication. Because without these skills, human cannot survive in corporate environment. So you do have. But look, with this debate and talk about skills gone into a direction so much that we forgot about the fundamental survival skills. We don't talk about much about communication and relationship when we are talking about service orientation and collaboration, right? So this study or this research reminded me to focus back because most of the professionals like you are struggling with their communication skills. If they are missing basic talent on communication skills, what they could do about storytelling or negotiation? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't make any sense. So we are back to the basics. Now, as I said, everybody has some level of communication skills. We are talking about going forward with a very high level of skills, mastery level. That's what we are looking for. So here is the basic formula of career success. Very basic, very fundamental, but very true. Your communication skills help you lead in networking or create a good network. And your networking ability or skills help you develop good relationship. That's all. That's all about the career success. If you have the three skills, you will make a lot of progress. If you don't, you will struggle. Now, I'm not saying that all of your technical knowledge and background and experience and qualification and degrees are irrelevant. They are there. They are the given thing because you are, wherever you are in your profession, you are because of those basic fundamental qualifications. What we are talking about after those given qualifications, what makes you successful? And these are the three skills that make you successful. Look around in your corporate environment and see who people are successful. You will find some people who are not highly educated and professional, but they are very good communicator and networker and relationship developer, and they are quite successful. Similarly, you will see there are people who are highly educated, highly qualified, PhDs and certificate after certificate, but they don't have good communication networking. They struggle, right? So wherever you are, it's never late. It's never late. Focus and try to develop on your communication skills. Don't get into the trap that you already know it. Many people, especially if you are director and above, you feel that, oh, this is for junior people, not for me. I need to send my people to this training, but not about me. They don't even want to think about them. Big mistake. Be careful. So let's talk about communication because we are talking about interviewing, right? Interviewing is basically a process of communication. So in communication, experts tell us that the word counts only 7%. Only 7%. Body language counts 55%, and voice tone and voice fluctuations count 38%. Think of this. Unbelievable. It's a very common research available. 7% words. And people think this is about the words, what we are saying, what we are speaking. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. That really matters. So that's a fundamental thing we need to learn, that it's not about the words we are saying, but how we are delivering, how we are saying, what is our body language. Just to understand a little bit deeper into these three areas, what is body language, by the way? I'm not doing a communication course here, but just to give you enough idea so you could understand it better. Body language is your facial expressions, eye contact, and body postures and gestures, how you are standing, how your hands are moving, those things. Voice fluctuations, mainly your voice tone, intonation, the high pitch, low pitch, and energy and emotion in your voice. And the contents are basically words, but you can also increase or decrease the quality of content by your value proposition, how good your story is, and bringing stories and reflecting and expressing your personal brand. So think of the online communication we are talking about, online interviews. In online interviews, usually it would be on webcam, by the way, but there are limitations of webcam. You, even if it is on webcam, You cannot see the whole body language or facial expressions. Compared to a face-to-face interview, where everything is crystal clear in terms of the body language, facial expressions, eye contact, body movements, you don't see that. You cannot sense that with the same level of quality in online communication. So if you are sitting in an online interview, the other end, the hiring manager or the interviewer, only listening to your voice mainly most of the time. And as we learned, the words are only 7% unless you have very compelling stories. So voice becomes the most important thing in online communication. Voice is your personality in online communication. And most of us don't pay any attention to the quality of our voice, although it makes hell of a lot of difference. I'll get back to this voice thing towards the end of the session, but let me cover some other ideas about the jobs. So where are jobs? Look into your industry. As I said, that's a starting point. Start with your industry and look at the private equity firms, because private equity is the type of business model where they keep hiring and firing people. They invest into companies for a short period of time, 2 years, 3 years. They need to hire a lot of people. They need to fire people. So they are always in that activity, private equity. Fast growing companies, in this crisis, you could see there are companies who are growing very fast. Some industries are in decline. So try to identify the growing companies and growing industry. Startups always need good people, experienced people. Competitors, if you have been in industry for 20 years, if you approach to competitors, you could be very valuable to them. So there are high chances that you would be attractive to them. Newly acquired or merged companies, always a lot of reshuffle goes on between those companies when they are acquired or merged with another company. A lot of people lose job, but also they always hire some new people. And any large size company, and large size, what I mean, I would say that in terms of 1,000 plus employees, or let's say more than 400, $500 million. Those size of company always have some openings, believe me, always. You can make a safe assumption that they have some open positions available. They may not announce or publicize it, but with sheer size of those companies, they already have something going on. So these are the companies you can start targeting in your hunting job search. So with employers, if you are directly approaching employer, what you need to do? So first of all, research thoroughly. And what could be good times than current times that you have Google available, where is everything, every damn thing is available if you have time and some techniques. So research thoroughly and narrow down to 20, 25 companies in your industry sector. That's what I would suggest. Don't overwhelm yourself by looking at hundreds of companies and then get lost. That what do I do now? So target 20, 25 companies very carefully, where you have the highest probability of getting a chance. And then search people in those companies. How do you search? LinkedIn. If you're in an active job search, it I think pays off very well if you take a premium subscription, because that would give you more ability. Even Sales Navigator, which is the advanced level for companies, but it will give you a lot of ability to connect and see other people. So best thing for developing your network. And search people in those companies. Who people, I mean, if you're lucky, you would be lucky if you could decision makers, but basically door openers. You need one person, one employee to get inside the company. And then start the conversation. Don't tell them first meeting that you are looking for a job. When you tell people you are looking for a job, that is the best recipe to run them away from you as fast as they could. Don't do that. You start the conversation. That is the gist of the networking. Start conversation. It's a dating process. When you meet someone, you don't just offer them something very intense. You very carefully develop the conversation unless the other party becomes comfortable with you. That is the same process. So once you get a contact, start your conversation, and they will basically tell you about the openings and opportunities. 2025, that's manageable, but you need to do a very intense work. And then at a certain point of time, ask for referrals. That could you introduce me to your HR, or could you forward my resume to your HR, or could you ask them to just give me some time, or a informal interview or casual interview, something like them, or if I could make a phone call to them, something which is easy. Always when you ask for favors, get into the shoes of other person and evaluate whether it's comfortable or you are asking too much. Job search process for recruiters. Now, this is a difficult area in nowadays. So I would say that if you have to split efforts, do more on the direct employer side, but don't forget about the recruiters. They also have a lot of leads and resources available. So here you could again search recruiting firms in your industry geography. Large recruiting firms are specialized in regions and industries. Find out which ones are relevant to you, and then identify the relevant partners. So big companies like Corn Ferry, they will have partners who are assigned not only to the regions, but they also the categories. Maybe there is one who is only specializing in CFO. There is one who only specializes in marketing, right? Try to find out those partners and then follow the LinkedIn dating process. I think there is, if you go to my YouTube channel, there is also a video available for LinkedIn dating process, which will explain you how to start. Don't send a connection request directly. Again, you will run them away. Follow them, like them, get involved, develop the relationship with them, and at a certain point of time, you would send a request and ask for some favors. Your objective ultimately with recruiters, not for a job, but just to get on their first level connection list, first level connection on LinkedIn. Because whenever they get a lead or assignment from a client, they start from their first level connections. That is where they start. Before they post anything or look further, they just search within their own network. So your target or objective should be to get into their first level connection list. And your general approach is attract opportunities, don't chase jobs. According to very seasoned recruiters, search consultants, the best candidates are those who are not actively looking for a job. Now, you could argue that this is fair or unfair, but this is a reality. Even many hiring managers, senior executives believe that if you are out of job, you're not the best candidate, and they are looking for best candidate. So don't send your resume too much, don't circulate, don't publicize too much, that people started to recognize you, your job search. And there are people like that. There are people like that, that if they send their resume, oh, this is the same guy I've seen 20 times before. Don't make yourself into that category. And recruiters are not posting job, they are searching privately. So other thing you could do, try to make yourself as much as visible on LinkedIn, visible and findable. Because beside their first level connection, what they would do, they would start searching on LinkedIn. If you don't show up in their search, you miss your opportunity. And again, that's a separate subject, how to be visible and searchable on LinkedIn, but that's very important. Probably I'll address that in some other sessions. Structured networking, look at the professional bodies. If you are a certificate holder from an accounting body, that's the best place to start. Industry associations, recruiters, if you find some, senior executives of companies, social clubs. I would say the best place is for you, your professional bodies or industry associations. And also, by the way, MECA CFO Academy. So one of the unique characteristic of MECA CFO Academy is when people who join MECA for a training or coaching program, the program ends in some period of time, their community connection never ends because they become part of the community, right? Currently, there are more than 1,000 people in different groups. Our most prestigious group is Strategic CFO Group, the people who have qualified, completed those certification, and there are 300 people close to in that group, but there are also a lot of other group local chapters. So if you struggle with peer group networking, just connect with someone in MECA community. If you enroll into the program, you will automatically become, but it is not required. You can just search at some other people and get connected and join a local chapter. Okay, create visibility. This is the topic. I said LinkedIn is crucial, but you also need to show your presence on YouTube, Facebook. And just to start answering your own question, how much visible you are, search yourself, search your name on Google and see what comes up. Maybe a lot of things comes up, maybe nothing comes up, but that would tell you how much visible you are. So take interview very seriously because you're lucky, and with all the hard work, if you reach to the interview, you should not really waste that opportunity. You need to plan and prepare for an interview very seriously. So, few tips about the interview in general. When you are in interview conversation, try to use the business and strategy terms like blue ocean strategy, like five forces of Porter's analysis, like comparative advantage. Now, of course, it would certainly happen with you, but if you start study strategy literature and talk to someone who is more knowledgeable with the strategy, that would become your common language. That's a big game changer. Because look, let me be honest with you, and I think you know that reality. In interview, what happens? It's all about your communication, your conversation. People or hiring manager hire people because they like those candidates. Have you ever heard any person who did not like a candidate and they hired them? No, it's emotional. When people talk good, talk valuable, talk relevant thing, we started to like them. With their ability to speak, with their clarity, with their quality of conversation, we started to like them and we ultimately hired them if we need to, right? So business and strategy terms is one. And look, this is the place during interview, they are looking very high caliber talent, and this is your opportunity to demonstrate it. This is not the place to be humble or polite. This is a place to be professionally aggressive, to show your strengths. Tell stories from your past career. Stories are the best way to answer any question during the interview. You will only use stories if you have already identified them. So I would suggest you to look back in your career, look back each role you have performed, and for each role, not each job, each role you have done, try to find out five achievements, five accomplishments. And then for each accomplishment, try to find or craft a story, not more than 1 minute or 2 minutes, and rehearse them. Practice how to tell them very emotionally. Now, what will happen naturally if you have good stories to tell about your own career? You will realize that when you are telling these stories to the interviewer, you become quite passionate, you become quite energetic, you become very enthusiastic, which is the big deal in the interview if you show your energy level. At one point of time, I was in the job market, changing jobs. My hit rate was almost 50% to get an offer. If I go to an interview, there was 50% probability I would get an offer, that high, because I used a lot of stories. And the feedback I got, it was the energy level. Now, usually I'm not very energetic level person, but somehow if you ask about my background, my story, my success, my career, my achievement, I would become very emotional and energetic explaining those things. That's what happens with the stories. And the other thing, ask smart questions. Now I'm surprised that sometimes it's such a stupid thing that interviewer are asking, "Do you have any question?" And the candidate would say, "No, I don't." What a stupid answer! This is your opportunity to show your smartness. You need to double, triple, 10 times your energy and passion before the interview. That will make hell of a difference for your performance and results. And express positive body language. Make some judgment, evaluate, use some other person. By the way, the best way to practice is not mirror anymore, is the small device in your hand. Frequently use your smartphone to record yourself, record your voice, record your expression, record your body language, show to someone else, get feedback, and keep improving it. What could be easier than that? And highlight your achievement. So the message basically you are trying to provide to your interviewer that look, you create massive value to the businesses beyond the call of duty. I know it's quite a stretch, but I'm just trying to give you the message, the point that this is what the impression they should get, that you are someone who create massive value beyond the call of duty. Show your passion and highlight results and achievements, not qualification and response. Nobody cares. I mean, these things are already on your resume or CV, but you need to highlight your achievement, not degrees. Stories, very important. And also, if you don't find a story, try to find out the situations where you were working on a non-routine project, non-routine situations, and you did something good, because that really counted very specially. When you try to do something outside your routine responsibilities, routine job, for example, maybe you are on an SAP implementation project team, maybe you did something extraordinary for the organization, craft stories. You would not believe. Once you with yourself with some quality time, you look at simple situations, and if you think deeply, you will be able to create very interesting stories out of it. That's what you need for the interview. And enhance your business acumen. Do some training, not that you know your business, what is it, but really go into some business strategy things that make a big difference. Value creation cycle. Can you explain for your business you work for? Can you relate financial numbers with the business performance? And when you talk to business people, can you talk without accounting terms or accounting language or financial language? Peter Drucker, amazing futurist. This quote you are seeing, that was him from him, but that was in 1997. In 1997, people were not even familiar what internet is, and he was already predicting that school colleges would not survive. And that is what is happening nowadays. So this is your world. We still call this a phone. It's not a phone, only 5-10% is phone. But this is our world. This is what our life is running on, right? So this is becoming a future classroom for higher education, and this is also becoming the main place where you go to work and you do all the communication. So in online communication or online interviews, specifically a few pointers for you. Blunders. If you are not much experience in online communication or video conferencing, please be careful, a little bit attentive. Blunders like you are on camera and you don't know that you are, right? This has happened to many people actually. And there were some clips in the news media as well, some funny things. In fact, create a checklist for these things. Your background noise is louder than on the other side. Now, many times we don't realize that there is noise on our side, but these devices, today's technology is very advanced and sensitive. It basically projects that small noise on your side in a very louder way. It looks very unprofessional on the other side. You are whispering to your spouse or to your kid, and you think that nobody could hear that other side. Big mistake. Again, these microphones are highly sensitive, so be careful. You don't want other people to listen to your family conversations. Your background does not look professional. You are sitting in front of your kitchen and some activity is going on over there, or some other funny things. Just ensure that background is clear and look professional. You are in your pajamas, that is visible on the other side. So I hope you are not able to see my pajama right now, right? So that's an advantage, that you could be informal in the lower body and just ensure that the upper body looks professional. But just be careful that what other people could see on the camera or not. You are not looking into the camera, so you are not really experienced, and you're talking to someone but looking somewhere else. It looks very weird on the other side. And your camera angle is weird. It is focusing something else, and you don't know how you're appearing on the other side. So look at these pictures. In some of the video conference, you might have noticed how the people look on the other side. This picture, this picture, this picture. Now, these look like senior people, professional people, but they have no idea how they are appearing on the other side, and they did not think about it. But look, simply by looking at their video, how professional do you feel they are, right? It's a big cost you will pay for no reason. So please ensure when you set up technology, you ensure that how do you look on the other side in a professional manner. So get familiar with the technology. Nowadays, main tool being used, Zoom is very common, so people are having experience. But if you get a call from another company and they use WebEx, for example, you need to work through WebEx or GoToMeeting, right? So if you are not familiar with the technology, take your time, ask for help, ask for them to give some training or explain, send you something to explain, or make effort on yourself to understand the technology very well. Speed of your internet connection is very important. Many people don't pay importance to it, but from your side, if you're sitting at your home doing the interview for a company, your signal would be determined based on your internet speed. But have you checked that? And especially if you are speaking too much, you're supposed to speak too much, then your upload speed is very, very relevant, not only download speed. So just understand, educate yourself with some basic things. And the logistics of the interview, who you need to call or they will call you, what is the time, place, and how many people are there, things like that. But also develop your contingency plan. If something fails, your connection goes away, your power fails, what do? Just plan in advance and inform the other party as well in case. That would look very professional from your side to let them know. So what I advise every professional nowadays, that look, no matter whether you are doing any remote working or not, no matter if you are business calls going on through internet or not, going forward as a professional, you have to have a professional setup at your home. Camera makes a big difference. Webcam. Usually, I have a MacBook Pro, by the way, but with even MacBook Book Pro, the built-in webcam is not good enough for me. So I use this Logitech Pro webcam C920, very professional industry standard. It's an external webcam, but provides you very good quality. Also, you need to ensure that wherever you sit for an online call or communication, you have enough lighting on your face. If not, then investing into these two umbrella lights is not much. And a professional microphone, external or lavalier collar mic. All these things together would cost you about 150 to 200. The prices have increased a little bit lately because of the high demand, but still, I think within $200 you could buy these things, and $200 is a very good investment for you to ensure that in future, whenever you talk online, you look professional on the other side. That matters a lot. So I would strongly advise you to make that investment. Whether your employer pays or not, do not pay for this. Do it yourself. That's your investment in your future. If you have not much practice on the camera, then prepare to be on camera, practice it. Check and recheck the technology, test and retest from your side. For job interviews, it is safe to be in full attire. Don't take the risk of being in pajamas and having a jacket and tie. Try to be in full attire, just to be on the safer side, and prepare with the stories. And one thing you could do for the online interview, that even if you're on camera, you can put a note sheet aside the camera, note sheet, and that with the points you want to cover, so you don't forget, or your list of stories, those type of things, whatever is relevant to you, just put it next to the camera. So you're looking at the camera, but you look at that note sheet, and just ensure that you're not missing any important point to communicate during those conversations. And a few more tips. So stories, as I said, very important. You need to create an inventory of your stories. So when you have some time, look back in your career and find out the stories and create a list of stories or inventory of stories, not more than 1-2 minutes, and practice to describe passionately. Now, what is story? The common structure of a story is that there's a problem. With problem, there were challenges. Then there were effort or struggle to solve it, and finally it was resolved. Any story move around this structure. So this is a hero's journey, and of course, in your story, you are the hero. That is how you need to present. So whatever situation, just ensure that it shows some effort and challenge on your part. Finally, you become a winner by resolving that problem. You need to ask questions, not to get an answer. Very simple, straightforward, not to get an answer, but to impress the interviewer. Number one, to change the subject. Many times what happens that you want to talk something which you know well. It is your achievement or your something you did very well, and that is not coming in the question asked by interviewer. So you ask a question to interviewer by interrupting at an appropriate time. May I ask a question, or can I ask a question? And usually they will say, of course. And then you change the subject and ask a question which bring you to that topic you want to talk about, right? Many times candidates under the impression that, look, I'm only a candidate. I'm at the disposal of interviewers. So they go to the interview and say, okay, I'm available to you. Ask me whatever you want to ask. Big mistake. Yes, definitely interviewer is more powerful position to control the conversation, but you are also have a lot of control and power to drive the conversation. So don't underestimate yourself. And finally, also, to let the interview feel satisfied. Many times what happens that you ask a simple question which is relevant to the interviewer, background and capabilities, and they give you a long answer because you have touched their soft points. CEO, for example, if you're talking to a CEO, ask a question related to a strategy of their business, and they will give you a long answer because they feel really delight in explaining strategy things. So sometimes if the conversation is not going well, ask a question you think interviewer would like and would have a very good long answer. Again, you're not asking for an answer. You are asking that question to let the interviewer speak little bit in detail. Now, psychology of communication works that if you are in a one-on-one communication and you are only asking questions, but the other person is giving long answers, end of the conversation, the other person feel that you are a very good communicator, although they communicated 80% of the time, but simply because you let them speak, they feel that you are a very good communicator. Use this in your advantage. And never ask questions related to compensation or working hours in initial interview. You can ask these in final interview, but don't make a mistake to really ask this question in the initial conversation. Even if they ask what is your expected salary, just tell them this is relative. There is a lot of other factors, and I'm more interested in the jobs and the challenge than salary. We can talk about salary later. As I said, voice is very important. Voice is fundamental, especially in online communication. Voice becomes your personality. So you know that some people talk in a very weak tone, and that weak tone becomes their weak personality. So there are a couple of things you need to keep in mind. There are something called pitch of the voice, there is volume of the voice, pace of the voice, and timbre of the voice. Pitch is like fluctuation in your voice. Like you would say, I like this car, but I cannot buy it, right? That's a flat pitch. I like this car, but I cannot buy it. You have said the words, but with proper pitch, you would say, I like this car, but I cannot buy it, right? So when you involve this high and low pitch, it becomes a good conversation or good quality of voice. Volume is simply high volume, loudness, or less loudness. Pace is the speed or the speed of delivery. Some people speak with a fast pace. Some people speak with slow pace. So you need to adjust based on the audience. If you are in a foreign country and English is not their language and not your language, probably it's a better idea to have a slow pace. Timbre is basically having the energy in the voice, energy in the voice, energy and the emotion in the voice. That's basically the most important thing in voice. If you speak flatly and you realize there is not much emotion or pitch or rhythm in your voice, work on it, and you will notice that it significantly improves the professionalism reflected in your voice quality. So that's very important, and it will come with some practice. So first you get to know these things and then do some practice into it. My study about the skills and my research about the skills brought me some new insights. And the new insight was that communication, we take it granted. Communication, we think, is a basic thing, and that is the main problem. Most professionals really struggle with communication. This is a 6 weeks program, communication skills for future, which we are starting from the MECA. So forget me, I just want to introduce you if you feel that this is for you. So in this 6 weeks, we'll cover 6 sessions, one by one. First of all, psychology of public speaking and communication. Then we'll cover presentation skills, which are weapon of mass influence, in my opinion. Then we'll cover how to engage your audience with online communication and presentation. Then we'll cover executive level conversation skills. How many times you find yourself in a situation, for example, you are going on an elevator and the CEO enters the elevator, right? Now you are with him for 2-3 minutes and you don't know what to talk about. Missed opportunity, right? Conversation skills are also very, very important. Art of storytelling, how to tell stories, the other people are engaged, and how to write effective emails with professional etiquettes. So I thought that this short 6 weeks, but 12 hours of training would be good enough for most professionals to really start looking into their own communication style and communication quality. Because as I said, this is key, this is fundamental. It's starting with 9th of August, in the next 2 weeks. It would be 6 weeks, 6 sessions, each session for 2 hours, directly live, like I'm just talking to you live. So this is a webinar format. You're not able to ask questions directly, except right in through the chat box. What we do this program through the meeting format. In meeting format, you could be on camera, I could be on camera. You could ask any questions with your voice, and I could answer directly. So it's more interactive. There would be exercises, there would be assignments, and the most important thing, we put people together in peer groups. So for example, if you join from Dubai and there are other 5 people from Dubai, we'll put all of you together as a peer group, and not only into this program, but outside the program, you will also keep working together. Nowadays, it's always online, but previously people were meeting in person as well. And the other thing is that the program does not end for you in 6 weeks, because once the program ends from my side, you will continue networking within your peer group. And peer group would continue as long as you want, and you can also connect and relate to other people besides your first peer group. Timing would be the same as for this webinar. Every Sunday we'll meet at 8 p.m. Dubai time for 2 hours. That would be the timing if that suits you. And finally, this program is offered with the special COVID-19 pricing. We never offered a program at this price, 195 only for 6 weeks. Usually for 6 weeks program, the pricing for MECA is $500, 495. So just 195 one-time price, and you will be enrolled in the 6 weeks coaching program for communication. And by the way, you would also get a NASPA endorsed certificate with 12 CPE credit, which is acceptable to AICP and USA, but every other accounting bodies in world accept that. I'm going to question box now. What are the key skill set you would suggest to senior finance audit professionals? I think I talked about it. Communication skills, networking skills, these are fundamental. Communication is very important because most of the time, finance, accounting, audit professionals are not good into it. Communication should lead to networking. Networking should lead to relationship. And at the same time, you need to work on the personal branding as well. How to do panel interviews. Panel interviews are not much different than the one-on-one. I think from your side, you need to have same preparation, but you need more confidence and more preparation because it's not one interviewer. There may be several people bombarding you with their questions and different ideas. You need to be better prepared. But from your side, it's probably the same purpose and objective as it should be in a one-on-one interview. What do you mean by job searching skills? Job searching skills, I think, is very basic. That how to find the companies, target companies for you, how to network people, how to connect with people, how to start the conversation, how to ultimately connect to someone who is a decision maker, HR department, those type of things. And then once you are in the interview phase, then learning the skills about interview skills. So I think that's very basic. If you leave less than 1 year in a role and you are presented with a good opportunity by a recruiter, you are interested, how do you answer the question, why do you want to leave your current employer? So in this case, you need to see, because 1 year is really short, there could be two things. You're unhappy about the current job, which is prompting you to look at other opportunities. And other opportunity is so good that you think if you pass, it would be a missed opportunity. If that is the case, then you really need to look into this opportunity and find out a good reason, like something which is not related to the jobs, but maybe a family situation, maybe a personal situation, but never mention that you had disagreement with your boss or you did not like the previous company or there was more salary, or no, not those type of issues. Try to assign some reason which is other than the covered by jobs. And it also happened with me. I had to leave one job, very good job, in 8-9 months actually. And the reason was, which was also the real reason, that my family could not adjust to the city I transferred to. So I had to come back, and that only happened in 8-9 months. So if you have a good legitimate reason, they will not mind it. The other thing is that if you are really a good candidate for the new company, they wouldn't mind either leaving you in a shorter period of time. They are really interested in you. Okay, where is the best approach once you get connected with an employer? Senior versus junior through LinkedIn. Usually I would say that you try, if you don't know someone directly at the senior level, then of course it's easier to be connected with the person at the junior level. Usually it should be your counterpart at the same level where you are. So if you are an accounting manager, maybe you will find another accounting manager in that company, or if you're a controller, you will look for controller. So parallel is the best approach. Then you start developing conversation just professionally. And professionally means that how the business is going in these situations. share something about your company, try ask some question about their company. That would be a good start of the conversation, which may very quickly lead to the job situation. That your company hiring, my company is not hiring, or is there any positions, or what type of future, you know. If you are a good conversator, again it goes back to the communication. If you are a good communicator, you will easily find your way from starting a neutral conversation, quickly reaching to very specific about the jobs or positions available in the targeted company. Would you mind sharing some examples of how to move from networking to relationship? I think it's a very natural process that I gave you the sequence. Then you start with some networking, and once you keep doing networking, now of course, once you are connected with someone, you will make very thoughtful decision that how much time you want to invest with those people. If someone is really a target for you, ultimately reach to a decision making, probably you will be calling a couple of times during the week or during few days, and you would develop the conversation and relationship very quickly. So the more interaction, the more commonality, like your interest areas, your subject you're talking, and they are also interested to talk, that would quickly lead to relationship. And of course, you understand that from an online communication to the phone conversation, from phone conversation to meeting somewhere on a coffee or tea, that would really build up your relationship very fast. Now, just be careful. Don't try to overdo it, because if you overdo it, like inviting on coffee before it's really matured to that level, that may fire back. People may run away, because we are living in an environment there is a lot of suspicion. So creating and developing a trust is not easy. Even in the COVID era, do recruiters keep on thinking that the best candidates is the one that is actually looking for a job? So it's relative. I'm not saying that the whole recruiting industry believe that. I'm saying that some very seasoned recruiters believe that, some don't care, and some are in between. And in these times, definitely based on the situations, many have changed their views or have become softened. Rather than taking a hard stand, they have become a little bit softened to accept people also who are not on the job, and accept them or consider them as a high flying candidates. My own view has changed over a period of time. At one point in time, I had a sort of rigid view. Now I also have a very soft view. Rather, I have very clear view that this is not your fault. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So it's changing over a period of time, of course. How do you storytell your achievement? So look back. You need some time to prepare for it. Look back at your roles and what did you do. You definitely would have done some good things. And good things, as I said, that you could do. You could say that, look, I introduced a new reporting which was liked by management. That's one achievement, right? Now, to make it a story, you need to step back and look what were the problems. So previous reporting was antiquated and not very clear, and management were missing the right information, and they were wasting time during the meetings, and with also missing some business opportunity because they were not able to. And then someone asked for something, and then this happened. From a problem to a struggle and challenge, and then you have worked on some similar things in the previous company. You took the initiative, you brought that report, another person helped you, and ultimately you were able to create a set of report which was really liked by the management, and the management was able to really pay attention to the business opportunities, etc., etc. So you need to make it like a hero's journey in 1 minute or less than 2 minutes. How to reply the question, where is your salary expectation, or what's your current salary? You could tell your current salary uh, depending upon your seniority, your position. For example, in my case, when I was CFO and someone recruiter asked my salary, even in the beginning, I would not tell them. I would tell them that, look, I would tell you, but not right now. If we make advancement in the process, then I will let you know. So you could take that stand. Giving your idea about salary expected, you could completely flatly refuse it. Not refuse, but give a reason that, look, this is not the time for me to really see what salary would be applicable. I need to understand the challenge of the role, the scope of the role, the future opportunities, and a lot of things, after which I would be able to give you what my expectation is. This is usually accepted by recruiters and hiring managers. So decide yourself, how do you want to do it. If interviewer asked about weaknesses, what should be ideal answer? Now, this is a tricky answer. That what is your weakness? And you cannot say I don't have any weakness. And usually people will tell something just demonstrating that they are trying to be realistic and honest. I would say that definitely everybody has some weaknesses. Don't pick the most problematic weakness to tell them. Take mild ones, but don't tell them that I'm workaholic. That's my weakness. Everybody understands that this is a tricky answer. Try to tell them something genuine that, look, I can travel, but probably not too much because of this reason. And I consider this as my weakness, but I manage myself. So something which you don't like or which really limit your performance, but still is not a complete handicap for you. So you need to give a political answer for those things. You cannot just list a list of weaknesses for them to answer their question. In your slide, you mentioned focus on the same industry, but as you know, travel industry is the, yeah, there is always opportunity. So I'm not saying that you need to limit yourself in your industry. I said this is a good starting point. And of course, related industry or industry, after you have searched your industry, you should look at your skill set and see how could you use or apply that skill set to another industry. But there has to be some relevance. If you are going to a new industry, you at least have to make some relationship with your skills, that you with those skills you could still be very useful in some new industry. If you are out of employment, how do you get to practice on your communication skills given your lack of professional environment? So I already explained, this is common also, that even if you are on a job, you may not have opportunity to talk a lot with other people to practice your communication. It's very important to have your professional network, and within professional network, a close peer group. Peer group is not related to your job. These are the people who are in the same profession but from other companies, and you regularly meet them. So peer group and a professional network is very important to keep your skills practicing and shining. If somebody recommend from the job due to COVID-19, how to approach the recruiter for her next job? Not sure. Let me read it again. If somebody terminated, okay, I think it's the same situation. Because of COVID-19, everybody is understandable, flexible, and little soft to accommodate you. So I think if you honestly mention them, I don't see much problem in it. This should not be a discriminatory factor, in my opinion. What should be the ideal answer if the prospective employer asks how you would add value to my company? So the best answer is that you don't know much about that company, right? So you can take an excuse not to give a direct answer, but take it back to the previous company. How did you create value? So because if you relate to the new company, you may give a wrong answer because you don't know much about the company. So always give that answer indirectly, that, look, this is what I did for my previous companies. And I think uh, in a similar situation, I could perform very well. I don't know what are your challenges, or would you let me know what your challenges are? So sometimes smartly, you would turn the question back to the interviewer. They ask, what would you do for my company? What is the biggest problem for your company? For example, you would ask, or they would tell you the problem, then you can ask other counter question to keep on the conversation. So it's not always just giving a right answer, it's prolonging the conversation smartly and professionally. When you ask a counter question, which is a smart question, that's the best answer to that question. How to manage the question about yourself? Start and manage sometimes is tricky. Oh, okay. So that's another tricky question. Tell about yourself. I would suggest, and this is a common question from the inexperienced interviewers because they want to put the whole burden on you quickly. Don't take too long. Just craft a one paragraph answer, two, three sentences, key sentences. Just give them an idea and prompt them to ask more questions. So you cannot deny that I don't know or I don't want to tell about myself. But when they say that tell us about yourself, give two, three sentences, key sentences, and then stop and let them speak out. So once we get a job, what key activities we need to spend on first 30 days in or apart from the getting to know business and establishment. So it all depends upon the new environment and new company. And I think the best approach before you decide anything, ask your direct manager, your boss, what are their priorities? Let them decide how do you want to spend your time. Don't make judgment from your side because they may have different priorities. Again, when they ask or if they don't ask, you ask yourself that where do you want me to spend or focus in the first 30 days, and that would be the best approach. What advice would you get to a female being interviewed for a position usually held by a man? I don't see any problem nowadays. The gender discrimination, you need to see you from yourself as a female candidate that are there any physical difficulties or limitations you can do the job. But if there are not, then you should never assume that because you are a female, you are somewhat different or less or more. You should just consider yourself as a candidate in general terms, unless a specific questions comes up. So recruiters are asking, can you share an instance where you have received a negative feedback and how did you overcome? How we can build a storyline as it's uncomfortable question. I don't think it's uncomfortable. You need to be honest. As I said, that there is always nobody's perfect. So there would be a situation you received negative feedback. You need to demonstrate that you took those negative feedback positively and you work hard on it and translate it into a positive feedback. So, in fact, in my career personally, there were some negative feedback which I did not like, and but I worked on it seriously and I converted that into a strength. You could always present like that, starting with a negative. In fact, it becomes a very powerful story if you just spend some time to narrate it properly.